Okay, the Kings just completed the sign and trade for DeRozan. The Spurs are the third team here, and they are getting a 2031 pick swap from the Kings, which is kind of wild, as well as Harrison Barnes, who had some good times in Sacramento, but his production fell off this previous season. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the Bulls are getting Chris Duarte and 2 second-round picks. Given that this is a sign and trade, the Bulls were not going to be negotiating as if it was a normal trade. Sign and trades are typically more so, can we get anything? And then DeRozan is going to the Kings on a 3-year, $74 million deal, which is about what he wanted. He wanted $20 to $25 million per season. And so that salary for this upcoming season has him at the same number as like Terry Rozier, DeJounte Murray, Draymond, Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson. He's soon to be 35, but he's aged well, and he's played over 70 games for each of the last 3 years. I don't want to focus on the Bulls for too long, because obviously DeRozan and the Kings and his fit is the most interesting thing here, but let's just state it again. The Bulls are finally going in the direction their fan base wants them to go in. It's all happening like a year too late, but it's happening. Now, as I say that, Zach LaVine, as of right now, he is still on the books. We'll have to see there. And so we will see if Giddey can develop the scoring to match his passing skills. And Kobe White is going to get more opportunity. We'll see how much Buzelis gets to shoot the ball off rip. Some of this is going to be, again, if LaVine's there. We'll see if Patrick Williams ever averages 15 points a game. Okay, that's the Bulls stuff. They got a couple seconds, so okay, you got that as well. All right, DeRozan to the Kings. So, the big thing with the Kings this previous season was, there were some positives. We saw Keegan Murray really develop as a defensive player. Keon Ellis in the second half of the season emerged as a defensive role player that was really important for them. Fox and Sabonis continued to be really good. However, Kevin Huerter, who is still on the team as of right now, and Harrison Barnes' production both dropped off. Huerter, the shooting was worse. Harrison Barnes' rim pressure, free throw attempts, all that went down. And that on top of the Kings just having weird random games where they just kind of laid eggs, no other way to put it, it led to their offense being 13th this previous season, whereas 2 years ago they had the best offense in the league, right? DeRozan should be able to step in, and we know he's immediately going to give them way more production than Harrison Barnes gave them. And as far as half-court difficult shot-making goes, with the growth that De'Aaron Fox has had for the last 2 years on free throw line jumpers, it's like the number one thing I talk about with him, and then just DeRozan and his shot making from mid-range, his isos on the wing, all of that definitely improved the Sacramento here. And then Sabonis being a great passer, being a hub for him on the handoff actions that we'll talk about in a second, as well as just his scoring around the rim, his putbacks. And they got talent. Malik Monk's going to make shots too. Now, as far as how is DeRozan going to blend into the offense that the Kings have, which is, of course, the Sabonis DHOs and, Fox pick and rolls and how DeRozan plays off of that. And also, there's still the need for some weak side rim protection to help out Sabonis with, backline defense and everything. Okay, so obviously DeRozan is not the big forward who provides help defense. Like, we get that. That being said, they did not move a whole bunch of picks, so they still have the ability to get that guy. Granted, a lot of teams would love to have that type of guy. It's, one thing to say that type of guy. It's another thing to find the guy. Second thing is defensively. So the Kings drafted Devin Carter. Every single draft person will tell you one of the best perimeter defenders in this draft at the guard spot. Again, they've got Keon Ellis, and him just being that defensive, lower usage perimeter guy who could still make an open shot did end up being big for them. The lineup numbers were much better when he was in the game. And then, of course, with Keegan Murray's growth as a defensive player this previous season where he was taking on more difficult assignments and he was doing a good job there, I think the Kings are betting on they still have enough good defenders and they can finagle the lineups however they want to where they're not going to see a massive drop-off defensively. It should also be said, Sabonis and Trey Lyles, who is still under contract for the season with the Kings, they had a net rating of +9 in the 560 minutes they played together last year, if you want to care about that. So there's the defense for you. I think the Kings are betting on we got enough guys here to where we'll remain okay on defense, then offensively because of the talent upgrade here, we're going to get a lot better. That's the bet they're making. Let's talk about the fit on offense. I would imagine pretty early on DeRozan can run screen actions with Sabonis, and I would like to believe that could go pretty well. Now, as far as how is DeRozan going to play off of Fox and Sabonis' two-man game, here's the thing. Obviously, DeRozan does not shoot a lot of threes, but if you leave him wide open, he will attack off the catch, and obviously he can flow into the pull-up too. He can drive, he can draw fouls around the rim. You can do all that stuff. It's not like you can completely ignore him out there, even if, yes, the fact that he doesn't shoot threes, or doesn't shoot a whole lot at least, that does still matter when he's off the ball, but he can make other things happen if you leave him open. Now, as far as the Kings and all their DHOs and Sabonis operating from the wing or the top of the key or whatever, so when I think about the ways that like Malik Monk, and I haven't talked about him, obviously there's more firepower for you with him still here, And Keegan Murray and Fox, and I mean, Herter's still here too. Like, the way those guys will, like, sprint into Sabonis DHOs, or the way that they'll, like, have a series of give and goes with Sabonis within a couple of seconds and all that, that could be more of an adjustment period for DeRozan, right? Like, that sort of sixth sense playing off of Sabonis in that sort of way. Because Sabonis is always looking to run DHO actions, right? But as far as running, like, more simple DHO actions day one, and then eventually they can build on it and he can get to where everybody else is with Sabonis and all that, maybe, I think that can happen, yeah. And then as far as, like, how the Kings balance all of that they want to run with still allowing DeRozan to just sometimes just kind of ISO on the wing and, you know, dribble the ball out for a little bit, and then whether it's flowing into his twos or whether it's, you know, pump faking a couple times trying to draw fouls, like, I mean, you got DeMar DeRozan. You have to know that some of that's going to happen. It's just a matter of blending it to where, you know, DeRozan isn't too uncomfortable and you're not too uncomfortable with catering to him at the same time, you know? And as far as how DeRozan and Fox can play off of each other, I mean, I don't know. That one we're going to have to see the process of, because I do think it's easier to imagine DeRozan and Sabonis interacting with each other than DeRozan and Fox directly, like, unless one of them's just going to start screening like crazy for the other one. But of course, it's easier for defenses to switch that, and it's not really in those guys' DNA to do that as it would be with, like, Sabonis, so we will see. That's my take on DeRozan and Fox playing off each other, but still, between DeRozan, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, three guys who have a real just perimeter shot making and can just go off for something like you know what's going to happen this season. Like, you're going to have some fourth quarters where Fox makes like 2 or 3 tough jumpers, and then DeRozan makes 2 or 3 tough jumpers, and then DeRozan draws a foul, and then, you know, one of them finds Sabonis on the roll, and then he gets a finish, and the Sacramento crowd's going crazy, right? And, I mean, you can't forget about Keegan and this whole thing as well, where, like, Keegan's shooting is legit. I know his percentage was worse this previous season, and I know he's got to prove that, you know, he's got a little more juice off the dribble, and he can consistently flow into pull-up twos and potentially, like, tough threes and all that. I still think his catch and shoot and his relocation off ball is legit. I believe his three-point percentage will get closer back to what it was his rookie year, and I think he's going to play off of these three really well. It's just a matter of him continuing to find his spots to be aggressive. So yeah, it's an interesting move. I mean, the way that this works, like I said, is that the Kings have enough defenders on their roster to where they don't really see much of a drop-off defensively, and then offensively it's DeRozan's talented and therefore better shot making. His chemistry with Sabonis starts off at least pretty okay, and then it builds on something being really good, and he can fit into what the Kings want to do with the DHOs and all that. And, you know, you can have this thing where it's like, depending on the type of defense you're playing on these screens, it's either like DeRozan's making a shot, Fox is making a shot, Sabonis is finishing at the rim, or he's going at somebody smaller around the basket if it's a switch, that whole thing. The way it doesn't work is if defensively they slip, and then offensively it's like, ooh, this is more awkward than we were hoping it would be. So we'll see. I don't know. Shout out to Devin Carter again.